So for our next mini logo project, we're going to do this one right here. Instead of adapting a character from a typeface, we're going to be able to create our own letter P, just from using a combination of shapes and the Shape Builder tool or Pathfinder tool to be able to create this kind of 3D overlapping effect. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to grab the rounded rectangle tool. It's going to create our stem of our letter P. And I'm going to reduce the amount of curvature of that P. I'm just going to cut this in half. Instead of 1, I'm going to do 0.05. I'm going to make sure all those are locked too, so that all 4 corners are rounded. So now we need to get the circle for our P. So we're just going to draw a simple circle. Go ahead and place it where I think it would have good balance. Okay, so now we need the center of our P. So we're just going to draw another shape, and this is going to be white. I'm just going to drag it here. I want to get some nice even thickness with our type. I'm going to make this a different color so we can see where the stem is. There we go. And notice how the thickness here is not the same as here. We're going to do the align panel over here, and we're going to be able to fix that issue. So I'm going to go over to my align panel and do a horizontal align center. I'm also going to go around and do a vertical align center. So you notice the small adjustments it made. Horizontal distribute center, and I'm going to go ahead and do a vertical distribute center. So I'm just going around, I'm doing the center alignment on all 4 of these categories. And so now these 2 circles are perfectly aligned with each other. So if I'm happy with the thickness, let me go ahead and go back and look. I think I want to make it a little bit thicker. I think I had it a little bit thicker. The line, and so I'm going to go back and just click on all the horizontal and the vertical distribute center. I'm going to select both of these, and I want to punch that white part out. So I'm going to simply go to the Shape Builder tool, hold down Option or Alt, and go ahead and punch that out. So now that's transparent behind it. So now we want to create the cool 3D effect where it looked like it was spinning on top of each other. So this is how I get the cool 3D cutout effect. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in and make a circle. So I'm going to make a circle where I think I can cut it out using the Pathfinder tool, or in this case the Shape Builder tool, to find the right shape to make that curve. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a circle, and once I do this you'll be able to see why I chose the place where I chose. So I want to choose kind of the curve. See the blue outline? I want it to kind of cut through that section right there. Go ahead and make this red. Flip that to stroke and make that a small stroke so I can see. So I want to be able to get this portion. So anything with the Pathfinder tool, if I have overlapping shapes, I can create any of these shapes by punching or adding to it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the circle and copy my little circle that makes the loop of the P. I'm just going to paste it over here. I'm going to make this a solid shape. I'm going to send that to the back just so I can see what's going on. I'm going to select both objects and grab the Pathfinder tool. So this is the shape I'm after right here, this little half moon shape. So that means I can go ahead and hold down Option or Alt and get rid of anything I don't need. And so just like that, I was able to make this curve. I could do the same effect by tracing the same shape with a pen tool, but I find this better because I can get a really accurate curve of that P. See this curve right here? That's sometimes a challenge with a pen tool. So any way you can make it easy on yourself, please do so. So I'm going to make this lighter so you can kind of see the shape that I created. And so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to make this a gradient. I'm going to make this a gradient from keeping that light and then fading into this very same color. So what I'm going to need is I'm going to need a little bit more space around here so I can fade it properly. So I'm going to create that right now. I'm just going to grab the pen tool, and all I'm going to do is kind of give myself a little more room to fade the gradient. That's going to help it blend into this other half of the P. And it's a little hard to explain now, but once you kind of see it in action, you'll be able to understand why I did all this. I'm going to go down here and kind of fix any imperfections. You can always fix them later too, that's a great thing. And this is going to be faded out, so that's not going to matter as much. Okay, so I'm going to add this shape and this shape. I'm going to add them together with the Shape Builder tool. I'm going to hold down Option or Alt, and I'm going to drag and include all those together. And now they should be one shape. Hold on. I want those 2 objects together. I didn't want to select this part. So now I have this as one big object. And let me just smooth this little point out. And I bet I can get my curvature tool and make that happen, just like that. Now I'm ready to do my fading and add my gradient. So I can go over here and just do a linear gradient and go ahead and grab our gradient tool so we can get the angle we want. We want to go from light up the top to dark. We want this to end up blending in. So we're going to try to find the right, actually that works out really well. So we want to make sure it doesn't look like you can see the end of the shape, that this is the same color at the end of this shape gradient that is the circle. So you see how those blended together. So now we can fine tune our colors a little bit and also add some shading. So we can make this even a particular color, so we can make it a green. We can even apply a gradient to this. But let's kind of keep it the black and white. So we're just going to do kind of a lighter gray. And I also want to add a shadow just to give it that 3D effect. So this is casting a shadow down here, this little circle part of the character. So I'm going to do that manually with the pen tool. I think I'm going to grab these two shapes here. So our circle and our little circle that added the 3D effect, shift that over just a tad. Okay, so I'm just going to go from the top all the way to the bottom, make a curve. And that's going to be covered up by the loop of the P, so don't worry about that so much. I'm just creating a thick portion that will act as a little bit of a shadow that's cast from the top of the P. So I'm just making sure my shadow has similar thickness. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to make that a little bit lighter. So I'm going to take the eyedropper tool and sample this gray, and I'm just going to go down a little bit darker. I don't want the shadow to be too dark that it looks fake. I want it to blend in nicely, just be a nice subtle touch, just like that. Now I'm going to go back and just fine tune my little selections and maybe not make it quite as thick. We just want a thin shadow to be cast. We want the angle to be right. So there's our P. We can apply text to this. So this is going to be Parsons. So Parsons. Parsons Dynamic, or I guess we can just call it Parson Dynamic. Kind of a made-up company, kind of a tech company. But we want to be able to balance the text out. So we're going to work with typography next to try to find a font or a typeface that will work really well with our little 3D P symbol.